Hello everybody and welcome back to Nostalgic Train. We are continuing to look for more fragments. There's one over there. We'll see where this leads us. Some scholar is coming from a big universe to investigate the burial mound. Oh my god, there's a few memories here. There we go, there's two here. The president of the department store has gone completely senile, hasn't he? I know all he ever says is what a disappointment his son is and how he shouldn't bother coming back. His daughter has taken over the company, surely he could forgive his son now. And there's two memories over here, one there, one there. There are so many empty houses in the village. I see something shining on the ground. It looks like some kind of gemstone, but it has a strange shape. There's a hole through it and it has a shape like a curved water droplet. I look at it intently for a moment and some kind of magic is drawing me in. This might be a Magna Carta. Sacred jewel, I wonder what it's doing here. The doors to the temple open, a monk comes out with about 10 others from the neighbourhood behind him, all chatting as they go. The smell of incense mixes with the smell of summer grass. From the general atmosphere, it doesn't feel like a funeral. I hear one of them speaking. It's been a while since anyone lived in that house. 5 years, I think, right around the time my son was born. Now he's a cheeky little chatterbox. Time flies. Should we be doing something about it? Getting together and tearing it down, maybe? It's getting pretty run down. The others all voice their general agreement and then fall silent. One person speaking up has made everyone take another look at something they have been avoiding thinking about. The whole family died in the war. If that's not bad luck, I don't know what to call it. They stop looking at a puddle on the ground, falling silent. Then some kids come running around from the direction of the station. Everyone seems happy to have something to break the silence, and they all turn in that direction. The kids are shouting amongst themselves, "A pile of mops, a pile of dusters." They have semi-serious, semi-mocking looks on their faces. They rush over, obviously having come looking for some adults. They stop in front of them, breathing hard. They are all babbling at once, making it hard to tell what they are saying. The adults persist with questions and eventually work out what the kids are saying. Someone strange got off the train. He was sitting without moving on a bench in the station. He smelt really bad. He had a long beard and wasn't speaking. The kids watched from a distance and he spotted them, stood up and walked towards the bench. Was he going for a swim? Or maybe he was going to live there? "Come with us, get rid of him," that's what the kids say. The adults can't very well let this stand. Hearing that a strange man has appeared, they decide to go with the kids and head for the beach, and I decide to join them. This way, this way. It's someone we've never seen before. What happens if he's a criminal? The unfamiliar man is sitting on the damp beach, legs stretched out, unconcerned about getting his clothing dirty. In all fairness, his clothing was already pretty dirty. There are stains from his trousers and top, rips and tears too, like tatters of clothing hanging off him, which he's wound over with other scraps to hide the holes. You can see why the children call him a pile of lumps. I circle around in front of him and look at his face. His face is covered by a wild beard, but he doesn't look that old. His strangely clear, piercing eyes are looking quietly at the mountains and the sea. For a moment, as though being drawn inside, I think I see the kind of light in his eyes as the My guitar I picked up. The adults approach him carefully. They look at each other and then quietly ask, Atriarchy? Is that you? The man they are addressing doesn't even move his eyes. What is he, a ghost? The kids are watching a few steps further back from the adults and are still saying silly things. One of the adults shouts at them, Go get the other adults, tell them that Arataki is home. The kids nod their heads, looking a little more relaxed about things now they know the adults recognise him. They run off towards the station again, a bit less manic than before. The others look at Arataki, still seemingly unable to believe it, surrounding the man in his tattered clothing. Hey, speak to us, it's been 5 years. Longer. Since you went to war? Everyone thought you were dead. We had a funeral and closed at your estate. We never thought you'd come back after all this time. What happened to you? Tell us, please. The man doesn't respond, he's just quietly looking at the ocean. Did you hear what happened to your parents and brother? They went into the city together and got caught up in an air raid. Everyone at Tsurugi was waiting, hoping that you and Misaki would make it back. Your house is still standing, but pretty run down by now. Hearing that all his family are dead, Arataki slowly turns his head and looks at the man who's talking. His eyes aren't sad or surprised, just steeped in deep despair. Like a jolt of pure terror looking into the depths of the soul of someone who had lived without a shred of hope in his life, the man finally opens his mouth. It's so hot, and the green is so rich it dazzles my eyes. He's lost his whole family and finally made it home, a considerable length of time after the end of the war to be confronted by this. The other adults don't know how to react, and for pause, Arataki adds some more. I was held for years in a place so cold even grass only grows for the briefest time in summer. That's what he says, words to that effect. His voice is small, it's like he's even forgotten how to put emotion into his words. The sound of the waves covers the exact words he uses in some places. A moment later, the sound of those same waves is mixed with the sound of a car engine drawing closer. I look towards the station to see a black car approaching. It crosses the railway crossing and stops in front of the beach. The kids who went off to get the other adults are running back behind the car. Whoever is inside the vehicle must be one of the people they called. This kind of car must be a rare sight around here because the kids circle wide-eyed around it. When they reach out to touch, however, a white-gloved driver briskly warns them off. The back door opens and a woman comes out wearing a long skirt with an elegant feather hat on her head. It's the daughter of the department president. Watch your mouth, she's the president now. The other adults are buzzing with this new arrival. She doesn't care about her heels sinking in the sand and tosses the parasol in her hand to the ground without even opening it before walking directly towards the man. She arrives in front of him, sinking to her knees in the sand to put her eye level on his arm. My brother, Misaki, what happened to Misaki? Arataki looks back at her with those same deep yet emotionless eyes, staying silent for a moment. The waves lap over and over, filling the gap between them. He died? Arataki finally answers briefly. The woman's eyes open just a little wider, her lips tremble, but she keeps control and her voice is measured and even as she replies. I see. Do you have anything of his at all? No chance of that. He was stripped by the enemy soldiers, then buried. I buried him. His voice is deep, his words brief, reverberating low like the wind on the ocean. She doesn't even blink, shaking her head from side to side a few times and then quietly stands up. She doesn't pay any heed to the sand on her knees, gives a quick bow and heads for the car. The dust kicked up by its departure dances in the air. There's something wrong with him. He's been on the beach all the time since he came back without talking to anyone. Pretty creepy. Did you do it? Did you kill Misaki? Why didn't you come back together? It's a woman's voice, but a different woman from before. A younger voice than the woman from the car with a firmer tone to it. I looked to see a very small woman, tight-lipped, looking intently at the man. Arataki is sitting in the same place as before, looking at the ocean. His clothing is new, all fixed up, and his beard has gone too. There's no sign of the people who surrounded him before. This scene must be from at least a few days after the last one. Yet he is still sitting on the beach alone, watching the waves and caring of the sand getting everywhere. He also doesn't reply to the woman's accusations. Did you kill him? Is that why you returned alone? Repeats her questions. Her voice is shaking. This Masaki fellow left Natsurugi with Arataki and then neither of them came back. I wonder what the connection is between them. I have a letter. It suddenly arrived about 1 year ago. With that she takes from her bag a battered looking envelope, retrieves the letter from inside and starts reading it. It looks like she's read it a lot in the time since it arrived. It isn't written on anything close to proper letter paper, created from some chimera of different papers. Now faded with age, the creases look ready to turn into ash. Dear Kazuko, I'm sure this sudden letter is a surprise. It's been 4 years since I sent you my last letter from Natsurugi. After that, like so many other young people, I headed out to war. Though the fighting is long finished, I find myself trapped in this frozen northern land, wishing to get home, thinking only of you. The grueling years ticking by, I've learned that my fellow prisoners are planning an escape, and that has prompted me to ask this letter to be smuggled out to you. I pray it reaches you safely. The woman reading the letter must be called Kazuko. It sounds like she and Masaki used to send letters to each other. There must have been an attraction between them. That could be why she's so desperately trying to find out what happened to him. After the letters from him dried up, she probably started to think he was dead, and then the arrival of this one final letter gave her another spark of hope. He survived the front lines, enemy bullets never finding his flesh, overcoming the harsh struggle with human foes and nature alike, but then ended up a prisoner anyway, crammed in with other soldiers. The cold freezing around them, barely any food to eat, forced into hard labour through day after day of drudgery and despair. Kazuki continues to read the letter. I know this is all so sudden, but I've ended up here with a man called Arataki, who also comes from Natsurugi. We grew up together, and joined up together, shipping out on the same day, but then ended up fighting in different places. I never expected to meet him again here at the end of the world, and first we enjoyed reminiscing together about home. But as the months pass here and then the years, everyone has been pushed closer to the edge. I'm not sure when things went wrong, and I'm sorry for putting this on you, but I think he is going to try and take my life. If anything should happen to me... When Kazuko reaches this point in the letter, the expressionless man's eyes are open wide as though surprised or scared. Inexplicable emotions are clear from his eyes, his mouth, the expression on his face. I look at his face and my own awareness twists for a moment. My ears ring, the world blurs, and the ground starts to roll like ocean waves. My head is spinning, but something comes back to me. The one who wrote this letter was... Masaki, yes, Masaki. It sounds like a name I've heard recently. I can't recall where I heard it recently. I'm sure. Feathered hat bouncing in the distance, that's right. The name of the brother of that woman from the car. And this man in front of me, his name was... No, I can't recall. Everything is melting away, preventing me from remembering. Shake my head. The man in front of me settles his gaze on a small shell on the beach. If you spend too long around me, the cops will take notice. They keep an eye on everyone who returned from that hell and anyone involved with them. I don't care. They won't find anything untoward about me. I just want to know the truth about Masaki. Her words are sharp and carry weight and power. The man thinks for a moment. If you insist, then I'll tell you everything. Everything I saw. Come to my house tonight. You can even bring his sister with you if you like. The man points towards his house. It's the farm in the distance with a large storehouse attached. You don't want to visit a man at home, especially not a haunted house. But that's the only place I'll do it. If you don't like it, don't show up. His words sound warped right up to the end. A haunted house? That phrase catches at me too. Haunted house? Where did I hear that? Right, his family passed away and his house was left in disarray. That's why it looks like a haunted house. That makes sense. Kazuko says, very well, I will call on you later. She gives a quick bow and then leaves. I should head to the house too. Logs are crackling in the fire pit, emitting a warm light. Stepping away from the light source immediately plunges the vicinity into darkness. There are 3 people positioned around the flames. The 2 women are sitting properly, legs tucked beneath them, waiting for the man to start talking. It's like a heavy black silence is lying over everything. The man uses a poker to adjust the logs, causing sparks to dance up into the air and scatter like little fireworks. I have nothing. Emptiness. Only colours soothe me. These warm colours are wonderful, the man mutters to himself. The other 2 just watch him quietly, intently. The man continues to talk to himself. It doesn't matter if I'm here at home or in that frozen hell, nothing much changes. The warm red of the fire, the deep greens of nature, maybe those are the only differences. Pods the fire again. He goes on as though spitting out some kind of terrible curse. I never had much of a loving family to come back to anyway. My parents were clearly failures, but clung to their pride. They gave their favours to my older brother, who was born with a better face than I. They were always buttering up with things they could never actually know, like saying he was the spitting image of our proud ancestors. The 2 women look over for a moment at the family shrine standing closed up in a dark corner, but then look away. I think Masaki felt the same way about this. What do you think? This wasn't exactly the warm home that he longed to get back to now, was it? Masaki's sister looks frightened for a moment. I have no idea what you're talking about. Her tone is cold. She clearly wants to cover a reaction and get into the real reason why they're here. The man pays no attention to the frost ruining her comment and continued at his own pace. Masaki told you everything, didn't he? That's what it sounded like to me from the way he described you. But where do you stand in this? When your brother didn't come back from the war, you took over the business from your parents. They've both gone senile now and apparently spend most of the time complaining about what a failure that same brother turned out to be. Your brother loved and respected you. How did you feel about him? The same, of course I did, the same. But she takes a moment to reply and lowers her eyes. There had to be some complicated feelings there which held her tongue for a moment. The fire is dying down. The man finally starts to explain about Masaki and what happened after their reunion in the far north. He explains that Masaki always seemed a little unstable. He was also concerned about whether those around him were really his allies, if they would side with him no matter what. He was quite blatant in his attempts to get into the good books, not only of the prisoners' form of commanders, but even the guards from the other side. As a result, a lot of people didn't really care for him. He purchased people's ire and jealousy and was beaten and messed with when away from prying eyes. I understand that this was all a result of inferiority complex and superiority complex twisting inside of it. I liked the guy, I did. When we were first reunited during a short summer night, we lay in the grass and looked up at the stars, and shared stories of home and memories of our childhoods. He talked about one woman he had been trading letters with, but how she was surely long married by now. What it felt like to be treated as a person, to be helped by others and to feel love, and how being here made you forget all that. He said all that with a deep and slow voice as we watched the stars whirling overhead. I could distinctly tell this was the sadness that lay at the deepest part of his being. I was living the same sadness, the same loneliness after all. It didn't matter if we were in our seemingly peaceful home or out there in the wilds amid the death and betrayal, our base nature was unchanged. It didn't seem possible. I wouldn't have thought it possible, but our tragic nature resonated together. The fire in the pit is now just glowing red embers. The world sinks into even deeper darkness. Maybe his memory is scattered, confused, or maybe he just doesn't care to put things in any kind of order, because he gradually expands from his memories of Masaki to more general events that happened in the camp. How that sparkling summer sky out on the plains, that slice of breeze summer stayed with him. Everyone lost weight, thinned by down circumstances. They dreamed of getting home and died off with those dreams unfulfilled. Resentment festered, with betrayal and informing on each other becoming standard practice, insanity growing around them, and how involved Masaki was with all of that. The good guys, the gentle ones, the ones with an ego, this was a place that chewed them up first. It was a place to drive you mad, many said. One day Masaki planned an escape. He used information gathered from the guards to piece together the watch positions and even the terrain around the camp. He told some of the others that in spring, when the flowers bloomed across the river, there might be a chance to escape when we were sent to work in the southwest. If we could shake off pursuit for 2 days heading west, we might reach a small village. The people there should provide further aid. If they could provide some food, then we could hop onto an eastbound train and pass close to the village and make our escape. Everyone who heard the plan would eventually put into action. I was among them myself, so I thought he trusted me, and I trusted him too, but for whatever reason he didn't take part in the escape himself. Maybe he wanted us to sacrifice ourselves first, then see what happened, whether the guards noticed, whether the escapees were captured and sent back. The small woman looked at the envelope clutched in her hands. He must have sent that letter out with one of those who managed to escape. I had no energy left myself. I didn't even really want to get home, so I refused to take part. Maybe my refusal is why he became suspicious of me. Maybe that's why he wrote those things in his letter. I can't be sure about anything with him. Anyway, the few who did escape did so without notice. It seemed they had made it far away. We had no way of knowing if they had safely made it home, and the possibility of that seemed low. But their escape was still a big help, mentally, to those left behind. The long dark winter soon arrived, everyone got weaker, more of us died. Then the ice melted again, and the breath of spring returning to make our hearts ache. Said he wanted to run again. Said he was going to do it this time. He invited me to go along. I could hardly find the energy. I was exhausted truly, in body and soul. The betrayals, the deaths, the absence of trust, the absence of hope. I had lost everything, had nothing left. If my own joy was to feel the beauty of the sky and the plants, then what did it matter? If I died and become one with the earth, that was how I'd start to think. The fire was also completely gone out. My eyes have long adjusted to the darkness, and yet I can still hardly see anything but the women remain in place, not moving, listening intently. But he kept saying, visit the grave of, together in Natsurugi. I decided, run with them, I should. Huh? I've been listening to his long tale of the past as some kind of reverie, but now I snap back to myself. I can't make out what he's saying. The words are twisted and warm. I strain my ears, his lips are barely moving. He's staring off into space with a vacant look on his face, as though even he has forgotten what he's talking about. The two women are sitting around him as though time has stopped too, expressionless. The last of the wood in the fire pit is burning away, giving off a final popping firework as it vanishes. The Magatama in my hand glows with a strange light as it reflects that final little explosion. In the end though, I had no reason to go back. He wanted me to join, but I didn't go. I had no reason to try and get back home. So I decided not to take part in the escape. He didn't look happy about that. He told me that I had to, that it was stupid that I didn't, but it was the right choice. The next morning there was a commotion among the guards, waking us up even earlier than normal. Those who tried to escape had been captured and dragged back to be lined up in front of the barracks. This time they had been stopped. It had worked out last year, but this time with him taking part himself, they had been caught and failed. The escapees knew what was coming. They looked down at the ground, but didn't resist. Masaki was the only one reacting differently. He wasn't looking around, desperation in his eyes, but no one paid any attention to him. Soldiers lined up, expressionless in front of the prisoners. They raised their guns and opened fire without a second thought. After that, one of the other prisoners heard the guards talking. Masaki had been working with our captors. He had lured the people he didn't like into trying to escape, then had the soldiers waiting in ambush to take them out. For his aid in luring out these bad elements, he had been hoping to get some kind of reward from the guards. But the enemy had changed their mind, or perhaps been playing him from the start. Masaki had been captured too. That was the truth behind all this. We were made to bury the bodies. When I shoveled the earth onto him, I got a glimpse of his face. He looked peaceful. His final few years had been an endless cycle of suspicion, thinking constantly about who to trust, who to betray, and who might betray him. But his face in death did not look exhausted or sad. It felt like he had been freed from the suffering of a mortal life, and would now peacefully become one with these beautiful flowers. In the afternoon of that same day, a huge arch of cloud reached across the sky. I've never seen its like before or since. A single glittering bar of cloud reaching from one horizon to the other in a huge lonely arch. To me it looked like a pathway through the sky, taking the souls of the departed away to the east. After about 1 month after the attempted escape, we were suddenly told that we were being released and sent on our way. It was a long and hard journey by train and then boat. I returned to my homeland, a place nothing much I believed in, and nothing much left me. There's no one here. I especially wanted to see, and all that remains for my life is to consider how I've lost everything. That's it. That's everything. If you want to believe it, go ahead. If not, then don't. There's no proof either way. You can believe whatever you need to satisfy yourselves. No one he wants to see, someone who has been forgotten, someone who vanished, or someone who died. And my head is throbbing. In that moment, the Magatama in my hand starts to glow, light spilling out from around my fingers. I can see something. What is it? Something is glowing in the dark night. I narrow my eyes and focus. I feel something warm and something hostile merging and mixing together. Natsuguri Memory Fragment 4 complete. Another sad one. They're all sad memories, aren't they? Let me have a look around before I finish. Oh, there's a memory there, but I'm going to finish this here so we can continue with the next memory fragment in the next episode. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care.